What's going on, people? It's Mr. Dore back again with another podcast. I hope everyone's fit and well. And yes, we'll talk about Nottingham Forest's draw against Brighton that entered Brighton 2, Forest 2. Get involved, people, in the chat. Get your thoughts about how you feel about a good point, if I'm honest. So get involved now. If you're new to my channel, please hit like button, subscribe if you're new. And like I said, people at the top of the link, myself, Des is going to talk about it. If you can help him, it's 10 days time now. Des is doing coast to coast. So if you do, anyone wants to get a few pennies out, could be 50p or a pound, please support Des on the channel. Link is at the top as well. He has raised nearly over $5,000 now. It's for helping for footprints as well. But Des, we'll talk about it later on the show. Right, let's get the panel in. I think let's start in. The man himself, Des. How you doing, Des?
I'm all right. As you know, I'm feeling a little bit ropey today.
Don't give me sympathy to him. Don't give me sympathy to him. He wants some
not
sympathy.
been feeling great all weekend, bizarrely, and a long trip in the rain to Brighton didn't really help. Apart from the fact we got a point, and it was a worthwhile trip in the end. But I'm okay. Just a little bit under the weather.
Des, you're not getting no sympathy from me. Glenn might do, but I'm doing it.
I don't need it right now. 12 days before coast to coast. Probably a bit of nerves as well. Literally, myself.
Yeah, you know what, Des, go on, Des, before we do, before we get Glenn, just tell everyone before the last time for to donate towards coast to coast. Go on.
Yeah, of course. I mentioned it a lot, and I put it out on my socials. I'm doing coast to coast in 12 days' time. 192 miles, 7 marathons in 7 days. It's really, really exciting and frightening at the same time. It's going to be tough. It's even though people who follow me on social media probably know I do a lot of running. I don't do that much running normally, and I've had a few good training, good year of training, but a few little setbacks along the way, an injury and a few illnesses in the last couple of weeks. But feeling confident, feeling just rearing to go now, and I've got some fantastic support. You mentioned the figure there and the fundraising for Footprints. I've actually raised now just over $5,000, which is incredible, really. That didn't really set out to fundraise. It was all a bit of a personal challenge, but then you can't do these things without doing something good at the same time. And for such a worthy cause, when myself and Kay went to see them, we fell in love with what they do. So it's definitely worthwhile. It helps kids who need support and families. It's just a really incredible charity. So if anyone can get behind, a lot of people through this channel and through Forest, through following me on Twitter, have got behind it. I think the last one after I came on last time, Katie Stewart sponsored. So thanks for that. Thanks for the donation. So I really, really appreciate that. So anyone who can contribute, of course, Glen and Dore have been right behind it as well. So anyone who can contribute in that way, it'd be absolutely amazing, and after the next couple of weeks, I'll shut up about it.
You better.
Or I can just talk about doing it.
Yeah, no, that's it. I've got it right now, Des. So for Des has raised 5,189. So that is amazing achievement from Des. 208 people have supported Des as well. So people, end the show if you can get to 5,200, it's only £11. Please do. Any penny helps. Like I know Des, he runs every day, so please do. And it's a fantastic cause as well. Like Des says, it's Lisa Fox, who's been on the show before, for Footprints as well, and it's amazing things she does as well. So, like I said, I couldn't do it, and Des it's very good at Des it's achieved it. So, people, please do. The link's at the top, so any penny will help. Next man, another legend, Glenn himself. How you doing, Glenn?
I'm good. I couldn't do it either. I've run 4 marathons, but not on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever you're doing, Des. It's going to be an amazing achievement when you finally finish, and no doubt you're going to have lots of stories to talk about. And we won't hear the end of it, and I hope that's the case, that we'll hear lots of the stories about it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to come up and see you while you're running, but we'll certainly be supporting you every step. So all the best with it, mate. Okay. Yeah, and well, actually, I hung out with my son after the Brighton game. He's at the university down there, and he's a second-year university student, so he's starting to feel a bit under the weather, and so am I today. So I won't accept any, but I'm totally in Des's situation. I'm not quite as unwell as Des is, and I hope by the end of the week I'm still feeling okay, because I got a big trip over the weekend. I've got a group of students doing a Goal DV with us on the weekend. So that's something I want to try and avoid getting sick about. But yeah, after yesterday, very much looking forward to the next hour. It's going to be an opportunity to air some opinions we've got, no doubt, about certain key points. But yeah, I'm well, and thank you. I hope everybody else watching is too.
Before we do start, I just want to say hello to a few people. Hope you all, Colin. Hope you are my friend. Even at all, hope you're feeling better, Mr. Dore. Yeah, I was under the weather as well. Just thought I'd get out there. I was on Friday night. So people, if you want to give me sympathy and not these two, I'm here for you. I'm joking. Give us some sympathy to Des and Glenn as well. Eve, good evening, Mr. Dore and Glenn. I hope you are well. I'm glad we joined us today. It's a shame that Gibbs White was sent off. I'm just enjoying while watching and listening. Yeah, that's a good topic that we are going to speak about, Eve. But yeah, make sure you do your fantastic drawing as well. John said, can't stay long tonight as I'm on break. It's definitely watch it the full tomorrow morning. Keep good work, mate. Come on, you Reds. Thank you very much, John. I hope you're well. And as well, evening, Dore, Glenn and Des. If you want to be a member, please hit the members channel as well. It supports my channel a lot. And if any super chats as well, it helps the channel as well. Right, let's talk about this game. Like I said, it ended Brighton 2 Forest 2, and I get the boys' view as well. And people in the chat, get your opinion, get your views, and if you agree or disagree with any of what we say, please do. Let's start with you, Des. 2-2. Are you happy with it, or are you disappointed? What's your thoughts, Des?
No, I'm happy with the result. You know, we after last week's result, especially, you know, going to play, backing it up to some degree, going to places like Brighton and getting more points. Said for a couple of years now, whilst we've been struggling, every point you earn in the Premier League is precious and it's difficult, you know, and it was definitely the case yesterday. We know Brighton are a good side. We didn't, what I will say, I said it on my own little report after, we didn't quite reach the performance levels of Liverpool away. You know, we wasn't fantastic, particularly in the second half. I don't think we were great in the first half when I saw a lot of reviews at half-time saying we controlled it. I felt we didn't do the basics as well as we did at Liverpool. The fullbacks weren't quite as tight. When Brighton are dangerous down the flanks as well, and their best players was Adringer and the guy on the other side, Minamino. Is it Minamino?
Millimeter, yeah.
So they were their dangerous players, and we didn't quite deal with them. We let the crosses come in, you know, and ultimately that led to their first goal. So whilst I'm not absolutely disappointed with it, you know, there's room for improvement on that game. But when you look at the season as a collective, and the last two in particular, you know, you've got to be happy with a 4-point return from Liverpool and Brighton away, taken into the game at home against Fulham, and then the international break, a chance to build more points. Of course, slightly disappointed with the sending off for lots of reasons. Everyone knows Morgan Gibbs White's my absolute favourite, but I'm sure we'll come to that a little bit later. So there was plenty of positives, a few negatives, you know, a few things to work on. But you like I say, you've just got to be happy with that. You know, it's a point on the board, and to have the points we've got after the first 5 games, you know, we'd have snatched your hand off. Because in the last couple of years, I've not actually thought this stat through. The first season was a real struggle, but I don't know how many points we had after 5 games, but I can assure you it was nowhere near what we've got now. So quite happy and feel like we're a long way to safety first and foremost. Let's not count our chickens.
No.
You know, we're all looking up now. We're all getting a bit excited, but I think it's a good time to realise that we're making massive strides into where we have been over the last couple of years.
But before we get Glenn, we've got another legend, and I'm actually a bit swerving on the way back. Legends of Dawn at 1:30 yesterday. I reckon most Forest fans would have taken a point. I would have taken a point as well. But shout out to Swerving Dawn. If you know, you know. Glenn, you know, when you saw the lineup, it was completely different to Liverpool. What was your thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that we had a bit of width, and having that change in midfield. Certainly, we were all like, "Oh wow, okay." This our draws or our hopes for a 1-1 or 2-2. I'm not sure if many of our group said 2-2. I certainly said 1-1. Changed to we think we could nick this. I know Des is interested in 3-0 I don't know what your thoughts were before the game, before you saw the squad, Des, but 3-0 was like, I thought you had that. Just out of interest, the first 5 games of the first season, we were 15th and we just lost away to Man City in game 5. We had 4 points. Last season, we drew at home to Burnley and had 7 points. We were 8th place. So significantly better in terms of return. And that was, I think, as a result of the options that we've got, particularly as you were referring to in the question, Dore, about the width that we now have, the width that we've able to play, and the pairings that are being formed by Elanga and Gibbs-White and Sousa and Jota, and that they're interchangeable at certain points in games, as and when we feel that that's the right time to make those changes. I think it was really interesting that no doubt we've been talking about who would replace Gibbs-White and whether one of them would slot in. But the width that we had yesterday, it worked to a certain extent. It was a bit strange that one was, they were inverted and that Callum was playing on the right, wasn't he? And Elanga was playing on the left. I'm not quite sure what the comments or the thoughts are about everybody else regarding to how effective that was, particularly with Elanga. I thought he was relatively ineffective in terms of that position in the first half. I can understand why they did it with Elliot on that side. But yeah, it certainly gave us a lot more going forward, a lot more attacking, and certainly led to the penalty and the build up towards that penalty, and that we were playing that, they were playing that really high line, and Morgan was on the right hand side, and both of our wingers, Callum and Elanga, were both involved in the penalty box that drew that foul eventually, that created that opportunity. And that penalty largely against the run of play, wasn't it? So it certainly gave us an option going forward, and the width that we had as a result. I think I agree with Des in terms of it wasn't quite so solid in midfield, partly because we just didn't have the players in there to create those 2 banks of 4, and the width that we had in terms of certainly for the second goal that we scored, and relying on how deep that they play gave us that, or how high, sorry, they play, and how much space it created in the back there, certainly gave us an opportunity to start and see those 2 that we're all falling in love with. And the comments that or the conversations I've heard from staff and other people in my school today, talking about how much of a steal that those 2 players are, and how incredible they are going forward, and what the options they provide us. And this is from Arsenal fans and Villa fans and Tottenham fans amongst those that watched the game yesterday. So yeah, delighted from a perspective of the options that width provides for us and creates for us. But it was always going to be an open game. Brighton like to play against teams that are far more further up the league, that like to keep the ball a lot more and like to come back at them. They don't like playing against teams like us in Ipswich, and it told in terms of the possession they had and how much they did with it, how little, I should say, they did with it.
There's a lot to say for Des.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of announce one of Glenn's points about why they might have played the wingers the way they did. Do you know, before the game, I almost expected Nuno to go with the same team as Liverpool. I think that's why we all expected it to be a little bit tighter. But I did suggest in 1 or 2 places through bits of content I did that I thought he might play one of them, because I felt all week, I feel as a football fan who watches football, that Brighton you can get at the left back. Do you know? So I did expect Elanga or Hudson-Odoi to play. I probably expected Elanga to start with the way it's been, because Elanga, Anderson was slightly better last week than Dominguez, only slightly. That's a harsh call, but I thought one of them might play, and having done what he did, I'd have probably expect. You can see why he did Hudson-Odoi the way he did, if you know what I mean. He's the one banging for him, get him up against that left back. But then I'd have probably gone with Yates and Anderson to give that little bit more cover on that side. Because like I say, it's their wingers that create the problem, not necessarily the fullbacks. Where Liverpool, the reason they dropped those 2 sort of wingers in, Dominguez and Anderson, who can be a bit more compact and narrow, was to cover those overlapping fullbacks as well. So I think I can see why he made the one change in particular, but that just didn't give us that solidity of sort of covering in other positions, and with the pace on their wings and the fact their wingers wanted to go outside as well. You know, that they wanted to go outside. They're nippy, they're quick. I think it just sort of played into their hands a little bit, and they were just the fullback says today had a torrid time. You know, Nuno swapped it about a bit, and he of course took Murillo off at half time, and then there was periods of the second half where Nico and Ina was swapped about and on each side and different things. So I just felt, I've in hindsight, and I'm not criticising, if it had gone with the way the game panned out, particularly after 60 minutes, you'd have thought the Liverpool lineup might have been a bit more conducive to what happened. But then it's good to see that the manager's actually prepared to change it. You know, it's a brave call, and that's why I was being flippant with my 3-0 prediction. You know, I said we got these players in now, we're giving it a real go, and that's brilliant to see, isn't it? Because everyone's starting to believe we can take this forward. So I was just kind of reiterating what Glenn said there, but I just thought it was worth mentioning, because ultimately it was a bit of a wake-up call as well, and a realisation that yes, we beat Liverpool, but we've not quite made it. There's a lot of hard work to do. Like I say, every game is difficult and every point is well earned in the Premier League.
I'm just going to go through the comments as well, and another shout out to Ian. Great point away yesterday. Thank you, Ian, for the lift yesterday and for the sandwiches. Number one, I got to shout out. The food was.
Thank Dawn for that, surely.
Dawn, thank you very much. The food was amazing.
Delicious.
It was amazing. Number one, Paddy Iris. Evening, gents. Great point away from home. This time last year, we would not hope we would have clawed back. Why with 10 men? Onwards and onwards, yes, as well. We would like the start, like I said, the first season, 5 points. Bloody hell, it's crazy. Another legend, Ricky. We're harder to beat now, 100%, 100%. And I seen your Instagram post, Glenn. Like we're the fourth team be unbeaten. It's baffling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Boys, let's be honest. Would you ever think we had 9 points the first 5 games of the season? It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling, people. But shout out to Ricky as well. Right, there's quite a lot of debate to talk about. Let's talk about Gibbs White first, and I'm gonna do a poll. So, Forest fans, what do you think, or any football fan? Gibbs White, was he right to get sent off? Yes or no? Let's get involved. Des, and then I'll get Glenn. What's your thoughts, Glenn? I mean, Des, sorry.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because we're in amongst all the sort of kerfuffle, and when it was happening, I clicked Sky Go on quickly and had a quick look at the replays, and you realise that to the letter of the law, and if it's against you, you're going to say that's a red card every day of the week. You know, he's gone in hard. He's gone in hard, but fair, in my opinion. His foot rolls over the ball, which makes it look far worse. So, like the referee, the frustrating thing about it all is what the referee did and how it all came about. He gestured that he'd won the ball. In the cold light of day, watching that football match, everybody agrees that's a great tackle. You know, and there was the same on Sky Sports News this morning, you know, on Ref Watch and all this thing. Everyone was saying if you've made the tackle, you'll be saying it's perfect. You know, if you're on the receiving end, you're going to say it's dangerous play. And because he's given the red card in the end, you know, everyone's going to believe it's dangerous play because they slow it down and they see how it went. But we all know how he got up. He was proud of the challenge. You know, he battered Yates's hand on the way through. You know, he was in that moment. He was fired up. And I just want to touch on one of the reasons I think he was fired up. I pulled up something from Twitter today. Everyone mentioned what Roy Keane was saying and what they were saying on Match of the Day about he'd get the steer. Like Shay Given says he'd get the steer from Shearer if that first goal went past it. The free kick went past him. What I noticed when that free kick went in, Morgan Gibbs White went absolutely ballistic at Sells. He was giving him so much grief because that game had spun round and you could see his frustration. They won on top of the game when they took the lead. They had chances to double it, and you could see that Gibbs White, he got so much frustration in him. Nuno puts him in a deeper line midfield role to make those kind of challenges. And at the first opportunity, he makes one, and he gets a red card for it. So what's happened throughout the game? His frustration just built and built and built to a point where he's thought, you know, he's probably frustrated with the goalkeeper. And it goes back, like Kieran was saying, the goalkeeper should get fined a week's wages.
We'll talk about
you
later.
and Shay Given was talking about the steer he'd get from Shearer if that goal went in. What sort of why I'm mentioning it is because I like it, because it proves we've got winners. I noticed that Morgan Gibbs White was really itchy yesterday after that second goal. You know, he was frustrated. He was fired up. You know, when we scored, you could see how fired up he was. He gave the away end a big let's go. You know, and he was really fired up. Nuno was really fired up through the game, really frustrated at what he's seen. And at half time, he made 3 subs. You know, you don't make 3 subs if you're not if you're happy. So he was really frustrated, and I think there was a lot of, like I say, basics we didn't do well, but it was all a build up to that moment when that sending off happened. For me, it wasn't in the cold light of day. You know, in the context of the football match, when you show something on the television, when you talk about it, it becomes a completely different issue, doesn't it? He's only fractionally over the ball because his foot rolls over it. You know, he's not over the top. It's because he hits the ball and his foot goes over the top. So I think the referee made the right call. And then, of course, Anthony Taylor gets involved, you know, and somebody sees it from a different viewpoint. Yes, you can't really argue, you know, but there was other things going on, and it's consistency again, isn't it? We've seen all this stuff in the Man City Arsenal game as well. You know, no one shut up about that. You'd have thought there was only one game yesterday, but it's the inconsistencies because there was other challenges and other things going on in the game, and it's that referee. You saw Nuno's reaction. You've done this to me twice. You know, because it was the referee who sent off Bolly, wasn't it? For something very similar in reality. You know, went through with a ball, yes, a hard, tough challenge. But the referee understood that. So what really irks me is once you start putting opinions in and slowing things down and different people get involved who are not in the game, then it's easy to come up with a different solution. You know, and we're probably all guilty of it as football viewers, but as being on the receiving end, it felt really harsh. But like I said to you guys on the way out, I'd seen a replay and I said to you, they're going to justify it. They're going to justify the decision because he did go in very, very hard but fair in my opinion. But the game's changed, hasn't it? The game's gone in that sense. You can't tackle like that. What it did say to me, and I know I'm going slightly away from the point, just another tick in Morgan Gibbs White's box. The midfield, Nuno obviously felt at times the midfield wasn't working, and he drops him into a deeper line midfield role because he thinks he's his best option. You know, so he's played number 10. He's gone back a bit and played a more sort of conventional midfield role, and because he still thinks he's his best option rather than some tried and tested midfielders. So again, it's just another highlight. It's just another reason why Morgan Gibbs White is so important to us. And despite the fact, and I know we'll come to this subject, so I won't go on. Despite the fact we've got players who can potentially come in, you know, he's still going to be a massive, massive miss.
Yes,
You know, we're in a better place than we were before by missing him, but he's still going to be huge.
Right, so as Des says, Gibbs White is now suspended, and I'm going to ask Glenn, people in the chat as well, who would replace him, people? Because I was having a discussion with Des yesterday. Like we're having a chat with a Brighton fan yesterday. Shout out to Luke, who was on his channel. Make sure you watch his vlog. We've got people that we can place him. We know Gibbs White is fantastic, but we have got players who can step in Gibbs White's position. People in the chat, who would you replace Gibbs White for, and why? Glenn, who would you replace him for?
Well, you could argue that there's there's three different options. There's an Elliot Anderson who essentially was brought in as a multi-purpose play anywhere sort of player. That certainly the games I've seen, Villarreal, for example, at home, where he essentially played that role and played it well. There's the Jotaro Silva, who, as much as we liked him playing a little bit more forward yesterday, and I can't believe this, he's just got this swagger about him after yesterday. It was so on it. Or there's James Ward-Prowse. So you've got all sorts of options. I think I'd prefer to sit James a little bit deeper and not involve him in those conversations. But of the two, between Elliot Anderson and Jota, I'd more push towards Jota Silva. So that would be my preferred option, just in terms of what he offers going forward a little bit. And then have Elliot perhaps playing over a little bit further over to the left in that pair. It may or may not involve Jota coming in the absence of Yates. It may involve Yates sitting in and perhaps going more to a Liverpool formation in midfield and having that four with a Ward-Prowse able to ping balls in and then create a little bit of space on the width that we may have with fullbacks pushing forwards, wing backs pushing forwards. But of the two really significant options, I think Jota Silva tips it for me. Be interested to find out what they eventually go with and what others say.
What about you, Des? Like I said, it's been a discussion about it. Like,
I think that for me, there's only one real option, and that's Jota Silva. I think, and there's a couple of reasons I say that. First of all, we're at home. So I'd like to. I think Forest's best team is the one effectively that finished against Liverpool with Chris Wood and Morgan Gibbs-White. Not finished, but the two quick men on the wings. Anderson and Ward-Prowse in the middle, Morgan Gibbs-White and Wood, and then the usual back four. I think that's Forest's best team. So at home, I think you'd play that all the time. That'd be first 11. So for me, Jota Silva is a direct replacement for Gibbs-White, and he carries an attacking threat. He's a runner. He's aggressive. He's got the wide players to feed off. He's got people like Sosa to come off the bench and work with him. And I think in the current form and wanting to move forward, as a progressive team, we've got to be playing off the front foot, and he'll give us that option. Also, the fact when you take the team side out of it, he's earned it now, I think. From what we've seen, he's earned a start. If he doesn't start games like this, what kind of a player is he ever going to be? We've had a lot of these players who've come in and shown glimpses of brilliance for 1 or 2 games, and then never seen them again, kind of thing, or they've left it in the next window or that kind of thing. So if he doesn't start when Morgan Gibbs-White's playing, when's he ever going to start? And like I say, he's done enough. He looks really up for it, aggressive. And I was just thinking there as Glenn was talking, and Martin said yesterday, that lad's got a red card in him, and I was thinking, your number 10 really, he should have a red card in him. I think back to Rooney, obviously, is the obvious one. You want that street footballer in there, that lad who's going to throw himself about and he's going to be all over the pitch. A bit like Morgan did at the end of the game, but you see it with Jota and his headers. He wins a lot of aerial duels. He comes up against some big centre-backs, and it's just another dynamic to his game. And like I say, at home, all those little things are going to be really quite important. The aggression, the headers in the attacking third. And then his running power. And that's the difference. I like Anderson as a footballer. I think he can do a lot, but I think you've got a much more rounded, level-headed footballer. And I don't necessarily think in this a game against Fulham, who are probably going to go hell for leather at the other end. It's probably going to be a basketball match against Fulham if we play Jota and Ilanga and Hudson-Odoi. They're going to go for it. So you're going to want players that can open them up, and then that little bit of solidity in midfield, and that's what Ward-Prowse and Anderson. That's where Anderson would come into his own there. So for me, it's definitely Jota, and I do think I'm not getting carried away with him because, like I say, we've seen these players before, but I do think he's one hell of a player, and he's going to make a big difference.
100%, 100%. I think I'll say I would say Ward-Prowse, if I'm honest. I don't know why I said that, but like Grant said, I think a deeper role is better for him, if I'm honest, alongside Anderson. So, yeah, I think I'll say Jotaro Silva because he's come off the bench, impact sub, and he's done well for us. So, I think it's time for him to start against Fulham. But people in the chat, what do you think? Yes or no? Who would play in that number 10 role? Please hit the like button as well. Subscribe if you're new, and make sure everyone donate to Des Coast to Coast. It's the top of the link as well, please. Right, another debate, and again, Sells. Oh God. I made on social media. Bring in Miguel. Sells should have done this. People, we've drawn. I know he should have done better, but we didn't lose. Let me ask Glenn. People in the chat, would you drop Sells against Fulham? Yes or no? I've done another poll again. Glenn, what are you thinking? Do you think it's time to bring Miguel in, or are you still sticking with Sells?
I think I'm sticking with Sells on the basis that he has, on the whole, played very well so far as a Premier League player in our goal, and arguably of all 11 positions, that is the one that is the most at risk of being changed next transfer window, or we don't necessarily have that rotational play like we do on the right wing as a centre half, although centre half's relatively solid, isn't it? We don't necessarily have as much faith, you could argue, personally for me, in our keepers we do other positions. So Sells is certainly the one for me that stays there based on Miguel's relatively inexperience in the Premier League. I was relatively happy with the way he played against Newcastle in Carabao Cup. I got no issue with the way he'd play, but I think it would be unfair on Sells based on certainly his second half performance and the save with his feet for that one issue. Now, you're right though, Des. Morgan turned and had a go at him, and his positioning of that wall and his lack of confidence in the wall meant he wasn't really positioned 2/3 across the goal to his left and allowed too much space to his left-hand side for that free kick to go in. The fact that he stood, and your comment in your blog yesterday, which was fantastic, by the way, everyone should go and watch it, was that he didn't even move. He didn't even move. And that was the worst thing for me. He didn't even see the ball until it went round him. Now, Dunk was in the way, blocking the ball's path through, and it went round Dunk and came in. But he should have seen it had he been further over to the left. Just as it was kicked, he's dropped his right shoulder. So whether he's expecting it to go over the top of the wall and still needs to cover his right post, he should have assumed that that's where the wall was, and the second half of the goal, his left, is where he's saving. He's saving half of the goal. But he left himself right in the centre and put his body weight to the right. He was never going to get over in time. That's the most difficult bit to take for me. And that one bit, like you said, Des, was absolutely critical in that shift of the game from where we were relatively balanced in that 1-1 situation at 38, 39 minutes or whatever it was in that last 7 minutes plus added. And that was a real change of complexity. I think had that been saved or, nodded out for a corner and we'd have gone in 1-1, we wouldn't have made the changes we made at half time. Whether Alex Moreno was injured as a result of that foul that wasn't picked up where someone went down the back of his shin, and that may not have caused an injury because he was down for a minute or so. Whether that was a forced change of one of those three. The other two were clear. Yates came on and made a difference. I don't know if that would have happened as a result of that goal going in. He's not a great free kick taker. Well bet, generally. I don't know how many he scores, but he probably had 20%. So he's not a out and out free kick taker, and we helped him score in that in terms of where Sells placed the wall, which was sound, and then what he did as a result afterwards. That's the niggly bit for me, and I'm totally with everybody that's saying make a change for the sake of making a change, bring in an untried, untested keeper against Fulham at home. Now, would the headed goal the one goal that they did score that I think was a really well worked goal for them, would it have been saved by a taller man? I don't know. You never know, do you? You can't really turn back time and place someone else in hindsight. But I'm sticking with Souls, as I said at the start of my answer, based on his experience and the fact that he's not really put a foot wrong so far this season. Okay, he could have elbowed a ball in at the Stanley Road end where you were last Saturday, and would have changed the complexity of the game, but he didn't. And he's running his luck. Maybe that was just the kick up the backside that he needed to make those changes that he needs personally to get on and play a lot better against Fulham. And all we know, we'll be talking here Sunday, Monday next week about how much of a change he's made. Or there's another issue that brings about a change quicker and quicker. What I do know is I don't think either of them are the finished article or the final solution to our keeper problem that's been running since Bruce Samba left. And we need to get that concrete. And I don't think either of them necessarily at the moment, at least, as much as we've seen is necessarily the solution. Maybe a Liverpool keeper is. I don't know. But yeah, at the moment, I would keep hold of him for now.
People in the chat, what do you think? New keeper in January? Yes or no? There's loads of keepers that we're going to be linked with, but I'm not going to talk about transfers. I hate it. Let's talk about the goals, man. Let's talk about Chris Wood. Des, like, he's got his third goal of the season. Good penalty as well. Was you surprised, Des? He took it, not Gibbs White.
I was, but if I can, let me just sort of add to what Glenn said again about the goalkeeper. Look at the mess we got in last season swapping goalkeepers around. Let's not get carried away with dropping goalkeepers. We ended up we can't save, won't save in goal, didn't we? Last year, and we didn't know what we were doing. So I like the look of the Brazilian guy. He looked good in that Newcastle game, but that was the Newcastle game. It wasn't the Premier League, and it's a completely different thing. Look, we know Sells isn't the long-term number one. The club were making bids for goalkeepers in the transfer window. Apparently, we know we haven't got as good as the owner or the manager wants. So we've got to go with the best we've got. And at the moment, he hasn't done enough to be dropped. No one would have saved that first goal. Not even a big guy. The header was perfect. That was more of a midfielder's fault, not picking him up from a run, because that's where he ghosted in from. The second goal, I said all that about Gibbs White and whatever, but that's what happens in football matches, doesn't it? I remember Keane and Schmeichel used to be at each other's throat every week. I think they still are, aren't they? But they used to be at each other's throat. So it happens. And again, it's always someone's fault when you concede a goal. If you dropped every player whose fault it was for conceding a goal, you'd have no one left in the squad, would you? So I just think you just got to hang fire, see where it goes. If it happens again, like it was with Turner last year, then you've got to make the change. If it happening again and again and it's becoming a liability, you have to make the change. Moving on to your actual question.
Yes. Answer the question, Des.
Was I surprised about the penalty? A little bit. Obviously Morgan's been taking penalties. Then when you see Ward-Prowse go and pick the ball up, you think, well, that makes sense as well. He's renowned for his penalties. Obviously, it was all a decoy plan for Chris Wood. And Ian, next to me, made a great point. Ian says they'd have been expecting Morgan or Ward-Prowse to take a penalty. And you see them both move towards the ball, so they might have been doing all the research on Morgan and James Ward-Prowse, and then all of a sudden Chris Wood pops up. And I saw a stat last night on Twitter. I don't know how true it is. Don't believe everything you read on Twitter. Somebody said that he's not missed a penalty for years and years, 10 years, I think, and he scored 30 in his career. He's missed 3 out of 30. So he's got really good strike rate, and he's not missed one for years and years. So I don't know if they've had some kind of been practicing in the week and a competition and he's won, in training. But I was a little bit surprised. And Sometimes, we would, and the clear-cut opportunities, a bit like the same as Tyro, you tend to panic. So there was a bit of panic, but he actually took it away quite nicely, didn't he? And gave us the lead. It's a pity, although it was ultimately offside. He didn't tuck the one in 2 minutes later, which would have effectively killed the game.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about Souza, little Souza, man. Glenn, the guy he's come off the bench, and he scored his first goal for the club, and he took it well as well. I think guys, me and Glenn were next to each other. If you don't see the vlog, but it's good to see him come on. Was it his first appearance in Premier League?
He played against Wolves for about 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
At the draw. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What are you feeling about Souza, Glenn? You come on.
Yeah, delight for him. He's come on, and has obviously given, particularly from the bench, Nuno that little bit more of an option. And we're talking about the depth in the squad at the moment. It was interesting to see. I've got it here somewhere. The size of our squad in comparison to Brighton's has always been bloated, and he's managed to get rid of a number of the players. But Souza and others have come in and has now given him a little bit more of an option and a bit more to think about. I think there was a point, a lot of criticism that Nuno's had, particularly against Bournemouth, where he was turning around to his bench, and certainly towards the end of last season, and going, what are my options? What do I do? And now he's got so many other choices. Souza and Jota coming on and making a massive impact this week. Alanga and Gibbs and Callum Hudson-Odoi last week, and the fact that Souza is now being, you were saying he's played relatively recently against Brazil and has won, and now he's transferring that really good form and the prospects that we saw in him, as that we're looking for wingers, we're looking at lots of different options, and is coming in was in the right place at the right time. Now, you can transfer to say that, though, any other player who can stay on side, and he couldn't stay on side for the second one. Any other player, any other player that could have stayed, in that and strung that offside trap and run power and just behind the ball, and anyone as a first touch, essentially as a first touch penalty, wasn't it? Right from the penalty spot, and he couldn't miss. But he did it, but he scored, and that's only going to give him a massive amount of belief in his own ability. When he comes on, we know what he's going to do. And it was a bit of a shaky start against Wolves. I think when he came on, he was trying a few things, and a couple of things didn't come off, and it was obvious that he'd first Premier League appearance, and he was a little bit nervous, or whatever. I certainly would have been, and it didn't quite show what I wanted to see. Yesterday, though, much better. Looking back on the second goal, I think he was too eager to go. Or the goal that was disallowed for offside, or eventually he played across for Callum. He was a little bit too eager to go, and had he just delayed his run a little bit or curbed his run and then gone on, we'd have been in a better position until he went across the penalty area. And I think he should have backed himself. I think he only crossed the ball because that's what Jota did for him to score. And I think he should have gone for it. He top right, just have a go for it, hit the target, see what you can get. Now, obviously, if he misses, and we were talking about this at the end of the game, weren't we? Callum gives him all sorts, right? Because he should have crossed to him. The pace of the ball coming in, had he been onside, the pace of the ball coming in was far too direct and far too quick. But any less than that, any defender or the keeper could have got it. So there's a really fine margin. His best option is to play across the keeper and have a go there. I think that's something he will work on. The fact that he got in those positions is certainly against teams who play like that, like Brighton did. It's going to give him so many more opportunities to do that in the future. And hopefully in the next couple of days, he's going to be working on his finishing, and he'll have a go himself. But delighted for him for getting his first Premier League goal. And yeah, first of many for us, I hope.
People, please do hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to my channel, if you can. There's any player that stuck out for you yesterday?
No, not really. I thought they defended well. I thought Murillo. There's lots of stats to back up Murillo, and I've been
The match.
saying, I've been raving while everyone's talking about Milenkovic. I've been raving about how mature Murillo's been this season. Do you know? And he's kind of going a little bit under the radar at the moment until yesterday. Do you know? And I think he's been absolutely excellent. Do you know? He looks so much more like a proper defender. Do you know, some of the theatrical stuff is gone. Do you know, probably been coached out of him, which makes him a more reliable option at times, and he stops wandering off up front and things like that. We've not seen that yet, but it's all good when it happens. So hopefully it's not gone forever. Um, but no, not really. Whilst Ben was talking there, and you were talking about Sosa, I was just thinking about the way the team is shaping. Do you know, again, I've kind of gone off the point from your question because I can't really think of an obvious player from yesterday. But the what we've got now is runners with a football. Do you know, Jota, Sosa, Hudson-Odoi, Anderson, players that can pick up the football and move it from one part of the pitch. And I've been moaning about midfield since we first got to the Premier League. We've had Foya, we've had Sangare, we've had Mangala. Do you know, players that didn't actually get the ball and would take it 20 yards up the pitch. And now we've got players that are confident on the football to get it and run with it. That run, the run with the ball from Jota Silva, you know, at the pace he was moving to then have the sort of the speed of thought to pass it to his mate next to him. Do you know? Because he was pulling away from the defender, was absolutely fantastic. But what Brighton actually did yesterday, and this is what might help Forest as the season goes on. This is what I was thinking about team shape and these runners with the ball. Brighton play a high line, and it's a modern thing all of a sudden now. Aston Villa do it, you know, Tottenham do it. These teams like to play a high line. But if we've got lots of runners with a football, soon as their centre back goes wandering, like Van Hecke did for that second goal, he went wandering off into midfield. Gibbs White played that ball straight through to Jotaro Silva. We were gone. We'll probably get lots of opportunities like that if we've got these types of players on the football pitch. Do you know, like against Liverpool, you've got that width, you've got to nullify them at Anfield. Do you know? But already, with what I said about the changes in the lineup, Nuno's showing that he's prepared to give it a go, and teams that are playing a high line are going to play straight into our hands. Look at Newcastle last season when we didn't have the depth we've got now. When it works, we absolutely kill them. If they make one mistake, like Van Hecke did, where he ran out of position and Jota's in, they couldn't catch him, and he had to control the ball. He had to think what to do, and then execute the pass. So it just shows the sort of ability we've got. Hudson-Odoi with his new mature attitude in my mind of never giving the ball away because he never seems to. You know, you got Sosa who's just a direct runner at goal. You know, and then you've got Elanga who's also a direct runner towards goal. And I just think this, as the season develops, if teams don't sort of figure it out and start dropping off, you saw even under Cooper when we played Aston Villa and they played that high line, because we're a counter-attacking team, we managed to sort of comfortably deal with it. Do you know, the home game particularly is different when you go away sometimes, but again, this is why it's important that we get these players on the pitch. Like I said about Silva at the weekend, it's important for him to play, because if he don't play in this kind of game, when is he going to play? I just think there's so much to be positive about now with the squad, you know, and it's really taking shape that we're struggling to identify individuals in games. You know, I couldn't do it last week, really. I couldn't really do it this week, apart from the fact I felt it was another really mature performance from Murillo, you know, which again, you can't underestimate. It just feels like all of a sudden they're coaching these players, they've had time to work with them. You know, I've not been Nuno's biggest fan over time. And rightly so, you know, everyone says you've got to like him because he's better than Cooper and whatever. No, it's like anything, isn't it? You make your mind up on what you see. And we're seeing now the fruits of of his hard work and the way they've tried to put a squad together. And if he's had any input on that, all credit to him, because the squad's really taking shape with some exciting players. Like Glenn says, people are talking about them. They're talking about them on Sky. The way Forest fans have got a massive chip on the shoulder with the way the media talks about them. But in this last week, they've been raving about that performance at Liverpool and saying, if you actually listen to it and want to be positive, they've been saying how much you've got to take Forest seriously. Everybody's been saying how much you've got to take Forest seriously. Nobody predicted we'd get beat at Brighton yesterday. I didn't see one prediction anywhere saying we'd get beat. And
Yeah,
not many
there's only
Forest-
one. There was one. I think Jason Cundy said it on Talk Sport. He said Brighton will win easy against Forest. That's the one I've seen.
But again, let's not dwell on that. 99.9% of people said, that we wouldn't lose, and to be there, let's not be silly about it either. These people do know a bit about football. A lot of them, they do work in it, just like ourselves, who watch it all the time. So it's what I'm getting to is everything's moving in the right direction, and we are starting to be taken serious as a team, because we are becoming a serious team. It looks like there's a real shape to the back four, which could ultimately become a back five, depending on the opposition and the players we've brought in. I think that was probably the thing. A back five, that's probably the way Nuno's looking, but at the moment it's working the way it works. So I just think, rather than sort of focus on the individuals, we've got a real quality squad coming together. And when you look at like Yates, every manager loves Yates. We all know what Yates is and his ability and his limitations, but there's still games that cry out for him. There's still moments within games that you need to call on Ryan Yates. And sometimes it's not coming off the bench and making a difference. It's getting into McAllister's face. If you watched any analysis on Liverpool this weekend, everyone's raving about McAllister, and how he was allowed to control the football match. Last week, Yates put him on his backside for 45 minutes and then he went off crying, so it just shows. And I won't say out about how bad Bournemouth's midfield is either, but there you go.
Oh, don't mention that. Des get smack bottom.
But that's
don't clip him, Twitter. Don't clip him.
We need all these players to be doing their job, and then all of a sudden you've got Nuno's got the toughest job of all. But that's when it's the toughest job. It's in another way, it's the easiest job, isn't it? Because you're in a good place.
Before we do go talk about the stats and everyone's man of the match, we've got 9 points, and before the start of the season, I said Forest will finish 16th. So I asked the chat and asked the lads, has your opinion changed now? Because like Des says, we've got to be serious now about where we are in the league, and yes, it's a good start. Let me ask you, Glenn, has your mind frame changed now on can Forest finish further up from your prediction at the start of the season?
Yeah, I said 15 at the start of the season, and I'd like it to be about there again. I think it would just be great if I'll answer the question a little bit later. I think that as Forest fans, all Forest fans know that you kind of hope, don't you? You kind of hope that it's going to carry on in the same way. But you're still realistic because you know what we could do. So 15th is still my prediction. It would just be great based on the starts that other teams have had, down there. If by March we know that we're about 15th or thereabouts, and we know that we're safe, and we know that the off-season, pre-season tour that we all kind of see other teams around us going on can be organised, and those sorts of other things happening. Our team shirt isn't the last one that comes out because we're not sure if we're going to stay in the Premier League. All of those things are put to bed, and that the decisions are made, and that we are staying in the Premier League for a 4th season. That's what I want. I don't know if I'm gonna. At the moment, it's still too early. There's still 33 games left, isn't there? But on the basis of the first 5, I'm really, really positive about the next 33. I think there'll be a point where, we're on that edge of the roller coaster, and I'm not sure how much higher it's going to go. But I'm one of these people that never gets too high, never get too low, and that we'll stay at the top end of that bottom third. I'm not going to at the moment say any more than that. Saying that though, I sang along where we were talking about, in Europe and all that kind of stuff, and and the Thursday nights and all that, like everybody else did yesterday. That's our dream. But I'm keeping my feet firmly on the ground, and I'm going to say 15th at the moment is still my prediction. I'm not in a position to change it, but it would be great if we know a little bit sooner than we did last season that we're okay.
People in the chat, have you changed your mind? Glenn's sticking to it. I'm going to ask Des as well. Des, has yours changed? People in the chat, has yours changed? Yes or no?
I think mine has changed, because before the season, I wasn't that optimistic. I thought we were going to stay up by default again on the teams that were coming up, and I wasn't being particularly negative. I worried about the new signings settling in, and didn't know the new signings had nothing to justify their ability on. Now I've seen half a dozen games, almost half a dozen games, that I'm a lot more confident that we're not just going to be fighting a relegation battle. I think obviously each week at the moment, your head's all over the place. Last week with top 10, this week with top 15. I just think after all that praise I gave the squad there and how it's coming together, we've just got to be realistic as well. And I can't help but feel amongst all the positivity yesterday and all the fact of a great result, the reason Nuno and Morgan Gibbs-White were frustrated, obviously because they're winners, and they want to win and go forward, but it's because some of the basics weren't done, and a bit of complacency crept in for me, with one or two players, a bit of complacency and not sort of performing to the levels they did at Anfield, not such a big game. And if we've got the right commitment and desire to go along with the ability that the players have got, and the way the big pluses at the moment is the way Nuno's putting them out there, and the maturity of what they've got. Now you've got to see the commitment from the real talented players, and the desire to dig deep and dig hard. And I just felt in moments that they just switched off a little bit, and that was my worry before the season. All the mistakes they made, whether it's Matt Sells in goal, or Aina at left back, or whatever, someone giving the ball away midfield, not picking your man up, you run a from midfield who gets a clear header on goal, albeit a good header. And I think, again, we can only be the architects of our own downfall. I think if we do things well and mature, and Nuno keeps sort of progressing this team, I think we've got a realistic chance of really surprising teams. But on the other hand, there will be a tough spell. There'll be every team has it almost. Even Arsenal and Man City have a 3-4 game spell. Where they might pick up one win or a draw and 2 defeats. But we'll have a 4 or 5 game losing streak somewhere. Because everybody does, you get that run of fixtures against the big clubs, and all of a sudden you're thinking, what the hell? We're going backwards, and what we've got to do when that comes is make sure we ride it, and keep to the principles and what's happened before, and remember that we can be confident going into the games that are a bit more winnable and achievable. And I think I'm really confident we'll finish above 17th. I don't think we'll be in a relegation battle, and that's probably the most realistic thing to ask for, isn't it? If we're not in a relegation battle all season, wow, what a different experience that'll be. It'll just be a season where we can all be positive about where we go from here. You can't have that too long, otherwise you become boring like Crystal Palace.
Why would you mention Crystal Palace? That's a bit cheeky, isn't it?
Because we wouldn't want to be 13th every year. You know, everyone is switch
Neither
off.
do they, Des. Neither do they. The no end of Palace fans around here are saying they want to push on because they're bored of being 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. I'm like, they just sit there in this perpetual cycle of picking a team position to finish in because they've just got nothing to push on.
But that's football, is it? We always want more. But like I say, for this season, if we didn't have that relegation back, what it would give us by not being in the bottom three at any point and being enough points away from it, it gives us optimism. The only reason I mention Palace, because if you're still there in 3-4 years, you're going, well, season's over in February. Remember when Forest used to play in the Championship and we'd be in the playoffs in October and 12th in January, and by March every game finished 1-1.
Yeah,
you know, because no one cared. But that's going off point slightly. What I'm saying is it'll be nice this season because all we would do from there, all we've done so far is look over our shoulder. Or if we're in that position where we're not looking over our shoulder, it makes us optimistic, and that's all we. It's the hope that kills you. I think every football fan knows that, you know. So, if we've got that hope, we always think we've got something to cling on to, and that's what we need, isn't it? So, I definitely think we'll finish not in a relegation battle, higher than my initial prediction of 17th, perhaps not 10th. You know, with some of the inadequacies. You know, there's one or two we've pointed out today, the goalkeeper and one or two other things. Striker, if we get caught short with a striker, you know, and an injury or something like that, we might really struggle. So yeah, I think we'll be safe. I think we'll be comfortably safe. 13th, 14th, maybe. A good run. On the flip side, a good run, you know, we could end up in the top 10.
Just Derby fans look now. Derby fans look away now. Just 2 more points to catch up with your record, and we're 5 games in. So sorry to rub it in, Lisa. Before we go, people want to get in the chat as well. Who was your man of the match and what was your team rating as well? So, Glenn, who was your man of the match yesterday?
Yeah, it was. It was a defender. With his 15 clearances and 2 blocks. Murillo, for me, he was absolutely epic back there. He gives so much to the team. It was really interesting, the comments a couple of weeks ago about those the daughter and son, was it, from Ipswich?
Yeah.
Was saying about
Chelsea.
how much Murillo isn't seen as being, you know, the one, like, you know, golden nugget that we've got in the team, and there's so many others now. But he had a great game yesterday, and that spell of 20 minutes from the second half through to just before we scored, when we didn't have a touch and they had all the ball, and I was just feeling like I was feeling sick that we were going to start, you know, and turn over goal after goal after goal, having gone through so many really good spells in the last six or seven games where we'd hardly conceded, and when we did concede, we didn't have that issue that we had 2 seasons ago where we concede one and within the space of 5 minutes there might be 2 or 3. That seems to have gone by, except for that final 5 minutes of the first half, and we dug in and we didn't have that much of the ball. But had it not been for Murillo and Milinkovic, who was excellent as well, and gives so much to Murillo. He gives him that strength and height that he doesn't have, and really pairs with him. And what one doesn't have, the other has. And the fact that they're covering over. Milinkovic was fantastic as well, particularly in the first half. We saw a couple of situations where he killed attacks with one sliding tackle, and we won the ball back, or we gave a throw-in away. And in one throw-in, remember, we got the ball back straight away, because my year 7 girls that I taught this afternoon can throw a ball in. And someone on 80 grand a week can't. It's ridiculous. But for me,
Glenn was talking about it before the game.
But for me, Murillo was exceptional yesterday. Milinkovic was great, and there were others that were really good. Murillo kept us in the game at points where we were really shaky, and a season or so ago we might have gone down by a couple before the hour, and he kept us in the game, and was the difference maker for me in that spell where we had a really tough time keeping the ball.
Before I get to that, I'll say mine too. I thought again Murillo was outstanding for me as well. Milinkovic as well. But when's the last time we've had a good pairing of centre backs? We've had Joe Worrell, McKenna, Cook as well. But for me, these two are I know people talk about Murillo leaving in the next season, but right now, them two are fantastic pairing, and it's unbelievable. Really, for me, was my man of the match as well. Des, who's your man of the match?
Yeah, I think Murillo, but again, it wasn't an easy call. You know, there was lots for some of the negative stuff I've mentioned. You know, and some of the things that didn't happen. I think there was a lot of hard work put into the game, you know, and a lot of endeavour, and it wasn't necessarily about the flashy stuff, and that's why Murillo does sort of pop his head out on top when we ask this question, because it was about if that was a good performance, the stuff Murillo had done would have gone unnoticed, and this is what I've been saying in the games earlier in the season, you know, where I think it's been coming, you know, that well, it's been there. He's played as well in every game I've seen. I don't think he played any better yesterday than he has already. It's just that those around him didn't quite play so well. So Glenn mentioned the fact there about the partnership with Milinkovic. It is massive. You know, I saw someone, and I don't know whose fan it was, someone on Twitter saying Forest have probably got this. They the fan of an opposition club said there's probably only 3 teams with a better centre back pairing than Forest, and I was trying to rack my brains and think who there was. Probably Man City, probably Arsenal, obviously Man City, and then I couldn't think who's possibly a better centre back pairing. Perhaps Villa. I don't know, but I didn't think about it too much. But it is all about pairings. Do you know, anybody who knows half an ounce about football and football tactics and has played football, it's all about partnerships wherever you are on a football pitch. Whether it's centre back, whether it's your left centre back and the left back, whether it's your left back and the left winger, you know, your left winger and your left midfielder, or your left winger and your striker. Wherever you've got partnerships on a football pitch, you've got something going. I've always raved about Gibbs White and the way he links up with the strikers and the wingers, and he drops deep and gets the ball. And you've heard me sort of crowing on about the number 6 and the role they have to play in the team. Do you know, because it always is about those partnerships and building them. And what we've got back there now is a real solid partnership where some of the emphasis has gone off Murillo, but it's making him a better player. Do you know, it's giving him a bit more. He was obviously the best of he was obviously the star man in not the best bunch, you know, in previous seasons. I don't want to disrespect anyone that's been there before, but the players weren't up to the level of Milinkovic, you know, so he stood out in that sense. But that meant there was a lot put on him, you know, like Glenn says, Milinkovic probably takes on some of his aerial battles and things like that. You know, so it just means football's a team game at the end of the day, and what I'm really pleased, and I've sort of unintentionally used it as a theme throughout the things I've said, is how much of a team we're starting to look. You know, and that's the real good thing, because when I've been talking about the maturity of individuals, but that's actually the maturity of the team coming together, because they can only do it with each other, and to see some of these star men, but raw star men that they've been in the past. You know, they have been raw talents. To see them becoming proper players, you know, is the best thing about it all. And again, I think what's nice about Murillo, and I've got this thing with pundits. They don't pick out centre backs very well, pundits. You know, so I like the fact that Murillo's starting to just drop back off the top of everybody's head. Do you know, they tend when you're talking pundits, it's not until like someone gets a call up that they even get mentioned. Do you know, like nobody spoke about Lewis Dunk before he got picked for England, and now he's one of the best centre backs in the country. And because nobody even pays attention to him, Carragher and Neville know nothing when it comes to centre backs. So I quite like the fact he's slipping off the radar again, because it means he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and nothing looks too flashy. You know, and it means as well that Forest aren't aren't always defending for their lives, but that starts from the front as well. I mentioned this. I mentioned this in the car, I think, yesterday. I hate stats, as you know, Dore, because they
You
don't
hate
prove
stats.
anything.
Hates them. Don't mention stats, people in the chat. Don't mention
But
it.
I'm going to reel one off that Forest XG against.
Oh,
is
why
one
you
of the-
mention XG for? Don't mention XG.
That's the worst stat ever, by the way, but it is actually the lowest. But I'm only mentioning it not because it's XG or because I believe in these things particularly, but compared to Forest's own XG in the past, that's what I'm comparing it to, not that of other teams. You can only sort of go on what you see, your opposition at the time. But if we're conceding less chances, and this was the problem, wasn't it, when the team weren't shaped properly further up the pitch, you were giving chances away, and there was overworking the team. What we're giving the defence now is a little bit of breathing space and chance to sort of manipulate the game to their ability and their standard, and give them that little bit of respite to concentrate, to really get their head into the game. And that's what we see from what looks like almost a perfect centre-back pairing. You've got the ball-playing Brazilian who's breaking ankles everywhere he goes, and then you've got the other guy who's just going to kick everybody into the 20 if he has to. So it's perfect for me, and it's working really well with a good fullback. So really excited about that, and Murillo particularly this season.
Right, people, we're gonna go. It's been a great show. Thank you everyone for taking the time from me. Thank you, Glenn, and thank you, Des, for again
It's a pleasure, Dore.
taking your time again as well, people. Before we do go, I said I tell you, this could be last. This is last Des time on the channel before he goes is coast to coast. What is it, Des? Is it?
I don't know. I don't know if you're asking me back next week, or
I might suspend Des for because you'd be mentioning the X whatever rubbish that he took about, but I might spend Des for that. Yeah,
I've changed, haven't I? I've changed talking about
Des,
stats.
why is Des talking about it? People in the chat. I'm gonna spend Des for one game, and then he can do whatever he wants to. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Like some people, make sure you support Des. Like I said, he's doing the coast to coast in 2 weeks' time. Please, it could be pennies through change and that. So
It might be the last time you ever see me if I don't come through the other end of it.
People, don't say that, you bellend. Don't say that. You do be fine, people. If you do follow Des on his social media, just give him a little humph, a little bit. But yeah, Des, good luck for your coast to coast run. Get some sleep as well, and no whinging as usual. Before I'm just going for the chat. Matt, the legend, Dore, Truft. Who are you, Seth? I think, are you the Ipswich fella? The Brighton fella? I think he was. It might be. Where did I meet you? But the man of the match was Murillo. Absolutely worry yesterday. Again, Murillo. Everyone getting Murillo's going to butt for this one as well. Best centre back since I remember the famous team. Yeah. Why not? Thanks, lads. Good luck, Des, as well. Or Justin, another legend, and as well. Good luck, Des, from Mark Preston as well. But yeah, it's been a great show, people. Thank you for everyone as well. Yes, it is. Yes, bro, the Brighton fella, absolutely legend. He couldn't. I speak to him before the game. He couldn't get a ticket, and he did. Lastminute.com. So
Nice.
well done, my friend, for getting a ticket as well. And I'll see you next year at Brighton, because we never sell out Brighton away. So I'll definitely see you as well, my friend. But like people, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for everyone that's taken a part. I will be doing a preview show with Alan, the Fulham fan, on Thursday, 9 o'clock. So watch out for that. But yeah, it's been a great show. Forest, we're still unbeaten. We are still unbeaten. I can't believe we're saying it. 9 points. Champions League football soon. What? We dream, Glenn. We dream.
Always.
We're all going to dream. I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, take back game by game. We'll finish top 4. I'm saying it right now. Clip this. We're going to finish top 4. We're going to be like we're like an Aston Villa. But yeah, it's been a pleasure, people. Before we go, please do hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you Thursday for the preview show for Fulham. Peace and love. Up the Forest.